Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. Will Ripple's on-demand liquidity product utilizing XRP as a bridge currency drive the price of XRP in a world where on-demand liquidity is broadly adopted the world over? Tremendously adopted. Substantially replaced a strong portion of SWIFT in the legacy financial system in terms of the foreign exchange and international remittances. Will that happen? Will on-demand liquidity do that? Because understand, we are talking about a massive amount of demand if Ripple's on-demand liquidity ends up getting used on a massive scale. So if they increase their market share dramatically. Well, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about how all this works. So the short answer is, and you'll have to bear with me if you want to understand all of this, it's a somewhat complex topic. And this isn't intended to be a completely exhaustive video, but I can really get the idea across here. You know, as far as will demand for on-demand liquidity directly impact the price of XRP, generally speaking, the answer is no. It'll have minimal to no it'll have minimum to no impact on the price of XRP, even if broadly adopted. But it will dramatically, I believe anyway, positively impact the price of XRP indirectly. And just hang with me if you want to understand why this is. And this is something that I remember first questioning myself back at the end of 2017 when I was learning about what Ripple was doing. I was like, well, okay, but what does this do? Because I was thinking just like I'm sure many of you went through the same thought process. It's only natural, only normal to think, okay, well, I mean, if demand increases because you're talking about XRP getting used for all these transactions, then that sounds like way more demand. And if it's really, truly globally adopted, I mean, wouldn't that demand just mean the price for XRP just goes rockets through the roof? Perfectly reasonable to ask. In fact, somebody did ask me that, and I broke down my thoughts on this all up on Twitters. But before going through this, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And I will say this, sometimes when I tell people that, directly, on-demand liquidity picking up and getting used more doesn't directly impact the price of XRP, they think like, that sounds really bad. How is that not really bad? I'm like, no. It's good and it's normal. It's fine. And you just have to understand why. So check this out. This conversation all stemmed from something that Crypto Eddie said, which was somewhat related. She wrote, my fellow XRP YouTuber, of course, Crypto Eddie, she said, when XRP achieves optimal liquidity to bridge massive amounts of remittances, have you ever given thought to the same single digital asset of XRP can be used oodles of time in a 24-hour period? No straight line to size of remittance market to circulating supply. Look at all use cases, which I agree with. That's a very good point to make. And so I went off in a particular direction based on part of what she wrote there, which is that XRP can be used, as she wrote, oodles of time in a 24-hour period. And that's true because XRP is blazing fast here. And so I wrote the following. This is true. Even with on-demand liquidity, there is a seller of XRP in one market and a buyer of that XRP in one market. If there are heavy ODL flows in one direction, price would go down a lot in one market and up a lot in the other market, except arbitrage would flatten that out. So let me just pause here. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. I'm going to circle back around because the conversation flushes out further. I'm going to make sure I sufficiently cover what I'm talking about there, but let me just keep going through it. And these on-demand liquidity flows can only occur if liquidity exists in the first place. So what should drive XRP price over time? The simplest, nondescript answer is more market participants holding it for various reasons, so more people / institutions / businesses jumping into crypto. Then people may ask, but what would cause people / institutions / businesses to jump into crypto? Well, we're already seeing that. As Brad Garlinghouse pointed out several years ago, people will speculate on pretty much anything. Some reasons for this are more rational than others. As speculation of crypto and XRP increase, that is a big part of what will increase opportunity for ODL expansion. As ODL expansion increases, I believe that will further instill confidence in XRP, resulting in increased speculation and adoption over time. Now, let's pause now. If that's the first time you've heard anything like that, then that might sound like a lot and you might have a lot of questions, which is I am going to take the time to break this down and do my best to make sure that everybody understands what my perspective is on this. And of course, if you have anything to add or if you think I'm missing something, I love constructive criticism. You can always drop comments below. I would absolutely love to hear from you. As long as we have adult civil conversation, I don't get offended by people telling me they're wrong, that I'm wrong. Just as long as people aren't being rude. It's like if the end goal is for us to just understand whatever is true and we're working together, I love that. That's what the XRP community is all about, you know. And so I wrote, at that point, it's like the opposite of a death spiral, a life spiral. Of course, there are many other use cases for XRP, and the entire ecosystem will factor into global price at any given moment. I look forward to seeing what this all looks like at maturation. So to be clear here, I'm focusing on the potential impact of on-demand liquidity when it's at a much greater scale, while recognizing that in terms of price action, well, price is always determined by humans on a global scale. And so that takes place based on the entire XRP ecosystem, not just what's happening with on-demand liquidity, but I'm just specifically focusing on on-demand liquidity here, with XRP being used as a bridge currency. And so then there was a community member here named Crypto Fun One, and had a very reasonable question here. And he said, I don't get your point. So XRP main utility case, that is ODL, won't drive XRP price. Only speculation will? That's a very awful case to be made, don't you think? And you know what? I love that that's getting asked. And I was asking myself that, in fact, in 2017 and the early part of 2018, because as I was trying to get to the truth of the matter and what the reality was in terms of what are the implications of all these cross-border international foreign exchange transactions, all this. So it's only reasonable to think, well, isn't that bad? You know, if you're hearing this from me for the first time, that might sound bad. It's not, though. You'll see why as I go through this. But I can absolutely understand why people might think that sounds bad on the surface. And so I wrote back and said, speculation has been driving the price of XRP for about a decade now. Why do you think that's bad? Since people are speculating, XRP has an open market price and liquidity exists. So that happened first. So pause to note this, at the beginning of time, all right? Before there was an ecosystem, there was literally nothing, but then XRP existed. And then eventually after XRP was existed, it got listed on its first cryptocurrency exchange, and then another, and then another, and then another. But before XRP was listed on exchange, people weren't trading it. They weren't speculating on it. And so its open market price was literally $0. Before it was traded, it had zero liquidity, because when we're talking about liquidity, we're talking about it being available for sale immediately on exchanges. Effectively, that's what we're talking about. How much XRP is actually available in open liquid markets? Well, if it's not being traded anywhere on the planet, then there's no liquidity and there's no price, right? So in the beginning, there wasn't. Understand that. But then I wrote the following. Then Ripple created on-demand liquidity, and on-demand liquidity only works because there is an open market price for XRP, and there's also existing liquidity. So let's pause here. Understand, this is crucial to understand. In order for on-demand liquidity to work, there has to be an existing XRP ecosystem. So the fact that that existed before Ripple did anything is the reason that on-demand liquidity can function at all. There have to be people buying and selling XRP already, which means it would have an open market price. And because people are buying and selling it, that's the liquidity. It's coming from exchanges, from individual humans who are just wildly speculating about it. That's it. That's where it comes from. It wouldn't really work. Like on-demand liquidity, say on-demand liquidity, whatever that code is, that the proprietary code of Ripple's on-demand liquidity, say that were created before XRP were traded on an exchange, it couldn't do anything because there's no XRP liquidity. On-demand liquidity needs XRP to have actual liquidity and an open market price, or on-demand liquidity doesn't work. So it has to happen in that order, period. Okay? And then I continued. I wrote, I believe that successful projects, such as on-demand liquidity, will result in confidence in the long-term viability of XRP, meaning more money invested in it over time. What do you believe is bad about that? And so again, I thought he was, let's pause. I thought he was going in the right direction, but I wanted to make sure I understand him too, because he thought that this sounded bad, but I wanted to make sure I understood what he thought about that was bad. But in a general sense, that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that people are speculating on this, that is what makes this all possible. Now we're going to dig deeper though on the mechanics of this. It's important if you want to understand why this is the case, that the demand, the direct demand of on-demand liquidity isn't going to matter so much in terms of price action. Well, this is what we break into next. But that's not a bad thing. Again, indirectly, it is going to matter. So I'll explain what I mean. And so Crypto Fun One, he responded to me again here and said, sorry if I was not clear. Speculation that the ODL will explode and drive the price of XRP is perfectly fine, and this is what I'm expecting or speculating on. But if no matter the ODL adoption, it won't affect the XRP price through increased demand, and what are we speculating on? Well, a couple of things there. First of all, in terms of speculation, people speculate on different things. Like as I hold XRP, I'm counting on the entire ecosystem, and on-demand liquidity is just a part of that. So I'm looking at the entire ecosystem. So it sounds like you're just looking mostly at on-demand liquidity here. Okay, that's fine. You can speculate on whatever reasons are. That's fine. I'm not here to critique that. I happen to be looking at it a little bit different. I'm looking at the broader XRP ecosystem. I'm thrilled Ripple's a positive part of all this for sure here. But you're saying here, that, what are we really speculating on? Because you're articulating here, Crypto Fun One, that you're counting on-demand liquidity to positively, because of demand, positively impact the price of XRP. And so I responded and I thoroughly explained why that's a common misconception, frankly. There are plenty of people in the community that have that misconception. And I used to kind of wonder if that was the case too. I used to think that was probable at one point early on when I jumped into crypto. So it's only natural. Like if you're thinking that now too, don't worry, you're not like some sort of idiot. You're normal. I was thinking that too back in the day. And so I responded though, and I wrote, "You're asking great questions. This will take me a number of tweets to explain, so bear with me. There's nothing mechanical about the code of XRP that will determine the price of XRP. It'll always be emotional humans that determine the price of XRP. Ripple's ODL uses an emotionless, efficient, path-seeking algorithm to fulfill orders, looking for the cheapest route available. That's very different than how humans behave when emotionally buying or selling XRP." So pause to think about that. Like, let that sink in for a second. What causes the price of XRP to go up? Well, people are speculating wildly all the time, fine. But eventually, in bull markets anyway, enough people will start to plow into something. You've seen it happen with XRP an endless quantity of times for a decade now. Then exuberance gets out of control, and then more people that don't know anything about XRP, or maybe they do a little bit, they're starting to research it, just they plow into it because it's follow the leader at that point. Like human speculators are like lemmings in this sense. So like when things start going, and that's when you see these parabolic blow-off tops, because they're just following the leader. Other people are doing it, and then there's that FOMO, there's the fear of missing out. That's causing. But do you think that Ripple's on-demand liquidity efficient path-seeking algorithm is going to do that? Do you think that they're just going to bid way higher and higher and higher to bid the price above XRP? Do you think that's how that works? Because that's not what it's programmed to do, I'll tell you that. It's programmed to look for the cheapest route available to fulfill the order. That's what it's doing. Let me take a sip of water. Hold on a second. But there's more to it. And the next part's more important, actually. So hang with me here. Then I wrote the following. If I'm understanding you correctly, it seems that you were thinking that on-demand liquidity would directly impact the price of XRP due to an increase in demand. But think this through. If there is a purchase of XRP in one market, that is an increase in demand. That XRP is then moved to a different market and sold seconds later. That is sell pressure, a decrease in demand, if you will. So what was accomplished here from a price perspective? Well, not much. So pause. Let me make sure that everybody's on the same page as me. So get why I'm breaking this down. You can have a hypothetical here. You could say that there's a corridor that used to be open until the SEC screwed everything up from United States to Mexico. So you could have Bittrex or Bits. I guess Bitstamp was the other the major one that was for exchange that was facilitating ODL transactions from the United States, if memory serves anyway. I haven't thought about it in a while, actually. I think it was Bitstamp, though. And then we go to Bitso in Mexico. So there would be XRP purchased on via ODL, in the United States, and then that XRP would move to the Bitso exchange, so a separate market, and then it would be sold there. So in the United States, and it's heavy in one direction, mind you. In the United States, you're talking about a lot of demand on the Bitstamp exchange, and you know what happens when there's more demand, right? Well, if there's a lot of demand all of a sudden, then that makes the price go up, doesn't it? Right? So that's what you're all thinking, right? Oh, well, there you go. Moon Lambo, you said that the demand. No, hold on. Yes, the demand is increasing, but what happens on the other side of that? On the other side of that transaction is another exchange called a Bitso in this hypothetical, where that XRP is then sold so that that money can be converted into the Mexican peso. So you have a buy, and then seconds later, a more or less equivalent anyway. It is because it's so instantaneous. It's more or less equivalent on the other side, effectively. But again, you understand, and you know why this happens, right? There are different participants on each exchange. These are their own closed ecosystems. So that's why if you've ever wondered why, you look at CoinMarketCap or Live CoinWatch and you're checking the price of XRP or Bitcoin or pick your crypto, but then you log into whatever exchange you're using and the price is a little bit different. Well, that's because each cryptocurrency exchange has different people participating, so you're going to have slightly different prices on every exchange for Bitcoin and XRP or pick your cryptocurrency. It's going to be because there's slightly different there's going to be a number of different participants with some overlap from exchange to exchange because multiple people have accounts on different exchanges. And so what happens when you get disparities from one exchange to another in different markets is eventually those get noticed. And then, and this is what I explain as I go through it, so you're going to get to hear this again, but effectively what happens is arbitrage. So let me just kind of read through a little bit further, and hopefully this is making sense, but it's crucial to understand there are different humans participating on different cryptocurrency exchanges, and then the likes of CoinMarketCap and like CoinWatch, they pull data from all of those exchanges, and I don't know what their proprietary calculations are, but they're pulling data from exchanges, and then they kind of averages out, and then it spits out that prices for what the global price of Bitcoin is, and XRP is, and all that stuff. So it's based on a bunch of individual experiences. And so that's why Live CoinWatch is effectively an average of like the global ecosystem effectively. But you can at times find, even sometimes briefly, wild gaps. But they're not long-lived because then people take advantage of those via arbitrage. Anyway, let me read my own thread a little bit further here. I wrote, if you have major ODL flows in one direction, then you're increasing demand in one market while equally decreasing it in another market. This creates a price discrepancy in these two markets. If it gets big enough, it will be noticed. And that's when arbitrage would occur. Meaning, people, excuse me. Oh, sorry, 1 second here. I was just rereading. I want to make sure I didn't skip one of my own tweets here. It's a decrease in demand. Yeah, I read that, didn't I? Because I wrote that if you move it, I hope I read that. The XRP is then moved to a different, once it goes there, I read that one. I think I did anyway. If not, I'm explaining it thoroughly anyway, so we'll be fine here. So anyway, so we just got to the part where I was mentioning arbitrage, and then the next tweet I wrote the following, because I understand that not everybody understands what arbitrage is. So I wrote, meaning people would notice that the price of XRP is lower in one market, then move it to the market where the price of XRP is higher, and then sell it there, which evens out the global price of XRP. None of this is bad for XRP price, it's just normal. So what drives XRP price higher? Simple. Greater demand overall without corresponding decrease in demand. To put it another way, more people jumping into crypto and XRP and holding it rather than selling it right away. I'm saying any project that's successful in using XRP, including ODL, will drive that demand. So yes, ODL helps, but indirectly rather than directly. Hopefully that makes sense. It's hard to share complex ideas on Twitter, but you're definitely asking the right questions. So hopefully my explanation has helped you to understand exactly what I'm trying to get at here. So it's certainly the case. If you're wondering what's going to drive the price of XRP, all of this matters. Of course, on-demand liquidity matters, just not for the reasons that people think it will. It's not because they keep thinking, oh, more demand, more demand. Okay, but then there's equal or roughly equal sell pressure on the other side of that transaction. So you get a net zero. Well, so once you understand that, you're like, oh, and then you might feel bummed out, but then you think, well, wait a minute. But this means that like businesses need this open market price for it to exist. So if you're jumping into XRP, even if you get to the point where you understand that, you might be like, huh, wait a minute. Might people be interested in investing in something that businesses are going to need? It's actually used? I think the answer is yes. I mean, I'm doing that. I know there are people in this space that understand this equally or better than me even, and they're investing in it for these reasons too, or at least it's part of it. This is a part of the reason I'm investing, but for me, it's about the overall, the broader XRP ecosystem. Yeah, this is an important part of it. But this is not bad. It's not scary. This is just how it is. I say it's good because we already see humans are behaving like this. They are speculating on it. And the more it gets used, the more you're going to get that speculation, which means more people coming in. But yes, you do need people in order for the price to go up. You need demand to outpace any sort of outpace any sort of selling. So that's why I was saying if you have demand on one side of a transaction and then sell pressure on the other side, like I said, it's a net zero. That's why you need more people coming in purchasing. So you need demand to be greater than that net zero effect. And I'm telling you that just the fact that this exists, I think that drives that demand in part, and the rest of the XRP ecosystem. This is good stuff. This is really positive, good stuff. So I hope I did an okay job explaining that, but these are complex ideas that are really difficult to share on Twitter, and it takes a long time to sufficiently break this stuff down. So I hope that makes sense. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, then, well, you're wrong. No, I'm kidding. Just articulate why in the comment section below. I would love additional thoughts on this, and I don't pretend to be perfect, so maybe there's an aspect I actually didn't consider, and I can be persuaded if you just articulate why I'm wrong about anything. If just do it in an adult fashion, and if you have a compelling case, awesome. I'll talk about it on the channel. But you got to tell me why. And this is the way that I look at it. This is what I think makes the most sense after considering this now for over 5 years. So let me know what you think. I really do love additional opinions, but I'll stop here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon family sedan.